وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخنا. السلام عليكم.
من كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله يا شيخنا.
نبدأ الدرس.
نعم يا شيخنا.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد. بإذن الله we'll be continuing with our halqa to Āishah by reading the tarjama or the Seerah of Āishah radiyallahu anha al-Mu'mineen Abdullah from the book Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah. We previously had discussed her lineage, how very noble and eminent her father and her mother were. We discussed her family. We discussed the virtues that were mentioned of her by the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We discussed the details of how she became married to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and the various kinds of blessings, barakat, that Allah has placed in her marriage. And I always repeat this. One of the biggest blessings for Āishah radiyallahu anha was she lived and learned under the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam for 9 years. And she conveyed this message in this ummah for 50 years. She learned for 9 years. And she conveyed knowledge for 50 years, nisful qarn, a half of a century. And she had some of the biggest names in this ummah in terms of knowledge and deen, being from her students, like Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, like Abdullah ibn Umar, like Abdullah ibn Abbas, and others amongst the Tabi'un. All of these people who have been the students of Āishah. It is a big virtue for her. We also mentioned other aspects of her marriage, her relationship with other wives at home, and her relationship with her husband, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, until Imām Adh-Dhahabi brought us to a big affair, a trial that came to her inside her marriage. And he titled that affair as Sha'nul Ifk, the affair of the slander, the matter of her being slandered, radiyallahu anha. People manufactured lies, the Munafiqun, headed by Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who had wanted to be the leader of the people of Medina before the Prophet came, alayhi salatu wasalam. Before the Prophet came, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from Makkah to Medina for al-Hijrah, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul was to emerge as the leader of the people of Medina until the Prophet came, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Ibn Ubay ibn Salul, Abdullah, became one of the heads of the people of Nifaq. They would show support and acceptance for Islam. They would observe Salat with the Muslims. They would fast together with the Muslims. But behind, they were actually disbelievers inside their hearts. So they would relate to the Prophet ﷺ as friends, while they had enmity bottled up right there inside their minds. فَيَقُولُونَ فِي بِأَفْوَائِهِمْ يَقُولُونَ بِأَفْوَائِهِمْ مَا لَيْسَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. So they went on like that. Then we came on to this trial that our mother Āishah faced. we read a part of it, the part where she said how the journey continued, how she missed her necklace that was made from the beads of Zafar in Yemen, and how she went to search for it, how she came back and found out that the people had left, radiyallahu anhum, and then she stayed at her place. She said, radiyallahu anha, وَظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُمْ سَيَفْقِدُونِي, I had thought that أَنَّهُمْ سَيَفْقِدُونِي, that those who had left, they would feel, they would miss me, فَيَرْجِعُونَ إِلَيَّ, and that will make them return to the place where I was. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَبَيْنَ أَنَا جَالِسَةٌ, as I was sitting there in the place where I was before I went to ease myself, and then I lost my necklace. She returned to that place and sat down. She said, فَبَيْنَ أَنَا جَالِسَةٌ غَلَبَتْنِي عَيْنِي, as I was sitting in that place, my eyes overpowered me, فَنِمْتُ, and then I slept off. She said, radiyallahu anha, وَكَانَ صَفْوَانُ ibn al-Mu'attal as-Sulami ثُمَّ الذَّكْوَانِ مِنْ وَرَاءِ الْجَيْشِ. Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal as-Sulami, Abu Amr, radiyallahu anhu, had a job amongst the Muslims. His job was that whenever they stayed in a place overnight and they left in the middle of the night or shortly before daybreak, he would wait there. He would wait to see if anybody had left anything behind. In his own report, Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma said, إِذَا رَحَلَ النَّاسِ, when the people move in the middle of the night, قَامَ يُصَلِّي, Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal will stand up and begin to observe Qiyamul Layl. When he observes Qiyamul Layl and he sees that the people had gone, he would observe Qiyamul Layl, and after that, ثُمَّ اتَّبَعَهُمْ, then he will follow, he will come behind them. فَمَنْ سَقَطَ لَهُ شَيْءٌ أَتَاهُ بِهِ, فَمَنْ سَقَطَ لَهُ شَيْءٌ أَتَاهُ بِهِ. So whoever has anything he had left behind or something falling off from that person, أَتَاهُ بِهِ. Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal will pick that thing and take it to those persons. So this was the job of Safwan, meaning that Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal was a person of amana. If he was not a person of amana, he would not be placed in that position. And the Prophet himself, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, said about Safwan, مَا عَلِمْتُ عَلَيْهِ إِلَّا خَيْرًا, I don't know anything regarding Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal except what? Khayra, except goodness. So our mother radiyallahu anha said, كان صفوان ibn al-Mu'attal, as for Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, as-Sulami ثم الذكواني من وراء الجيش, he comes from behind the army. So that's the Fa'at He started to travel in the middle of the night. فَأَصْبَحَ إِنَّ مَنْزِلِهِ, when it was daybreak in the morning, he came to where I was. فَرَأَى سَوَادَ إِنسَانٍ نَائِمٍ, he saw a dark person. Of course, when a woman is dressed in black jilbab or hijab, you see them inside the desert like something dark on the ground. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَأَتَانِي, so he came to the place where I was. فَعَرَفَنِي حِينَ رَآنِي, when he saw me, he recognized me. وَكَانَ يَرَانِي قَبْلَ الْحِجَابِ, and he used to see me before Allah commanded that we veiled our faces. فَاسْتَرْجَعَ, so when he saw that I was the one sleeping on the ground, istarja'a, he shouted, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That is the meaning of Al-istirja'. Al-istirja' is to say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When we see something that scares us, we make istirja'. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَاسْتَيْقَظْتُ بِاسْتِرْجَائِهِ حِينَ عَرَفْتُ. So when I became aware that there was someone near me, استيقظت, I woke up. I woke up when he said, Inna lillahi. So I woke up. فَخَمَّرْتُ وَجْهِي بِجِلْبَابِ. And I covered my face with my jilbab. Wallahi. Our mother Āishah said, I swear by Allah, مَا كَلَّمَنِي كَلِمَةً. Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, مَا كَلَّمَنِي كَلِمَةً. He never gave a statement to me. وَلَا سَمِعْتُ مِنْهُ كَلِمَةً غَيْرَ اسْتِرْجَائِهِ. And I never heard any single word from him غَيْرَ اسْتِرْجَائِهِ, apart from his saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He never directed a word to me. Neither did I hear him say any word, except what? Inna lillahi. When she saw me sleeping on the ground. فَأَنَاخَ رَحِلَتَهُ. Subsequently, Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, أَنَاخَ رَحِلَتَهُ. He made his camel to kneel down. فَوَطِئَ عَلَى يَدَيْهَا. He placed his feet on the arm, on the hands of the animal. فَرَكِبْتُهَا. He did that so that it would be easy for her to climb the animal. So he made the camel to go down. He placed his feet on the hands of the camel, and then it was easy for her, radiallahu anha, to climb the camel. فانطلق يقود بي الراحلة حتى أتينا الجيش بعدما نزلوا مغبرين. She said, radiallahu anha, فانطلق. So Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, after I had climbed the animal, he proceeded. يقود بي الراحلة. He was controlling the camel as we went. Safwan was controlling the camel. He was walking. Wherever he walked, he held the reins of that animal. So we went on hatta atayna al-jaysh, until we reached the rest of the people when they were in Medina. But by the time we got to Medina, ba'da ma nazalu, everybody had already reached home and went home. Mughiri fi waqtil waghra. They had reached home at the time of very, very strong heat. Shiddatul harri. Waqtul waghra. Waqtu shiddatul harri. So they arrived at a time when the sun was very high. So everybody was already in their homes. Fi nahri zahira. At the middle of the daytime. It was noon they arrived. But by the time we arrived, everybody had gone home. فَهَلَكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ فِيهَا. فَهَلَكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ فِيهَا. So those who became destroyed regarding me. يعني في شأني. وكان الذي تولى كبر الإفك. The one who went in front, who was spreading the evil, who was bold enough to say the evil and spread it, was who? Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, Ra'sul Munafiqin, the head of the Munafiqs. He was the one who went on to spread the evil about me. May Allah be pleased with our mother. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَقَدِمْنَا الْمَدِينَةِ. So we arrived in Medina. فَاشْتَقَيْتُ شَهْرًا. And I was sick for about a month. وَالنَّاسُ يُفِيدُونَ فِي قَوْلِ أَهْلِ الْإِفْكِ. As I was sick for 1 whole month. وَالنَّاسُ يُفِيدُونَ. The people, everybody were talking about قَوْلُ أَهْلِ الْإِفْكِ. يُفِيدُونَ فِي قَوْلِ Ahlul Ifki. The people were talking about what these people had said about me. The people have spoken evil. Safwan ibn Mu'attal was bringing to Medina the wife of the Prophet. We don't know what has happened between the two of them. Some people were saying, oh, they stayed behind, while the rest of us left to Medina. They were saying this evil about our mother Āishah. She was around now in Medina, and for a period of 1 month, she was ill. Radiyallahu anha. She said, as they went on saying that, وَلَا أَشْعُرُ بِشَيْءٍ مِّن ذَلِكَ. As for her, regarding whom they were speaking, she said, لَا أَشْعُرُ بِشَيْءٍ مِّن ذَلِكَ. I did not even have any iota of a consciousness regarding what they were saying. I never heard anything. I never sensed anything. As the people went on speaking about me, I was sick for 1 month. وَيَرِيبُنِي فِي وَجَعِي. And at the time that I was sick, يَرِيبُنِي, what was giving me concern, فِي وَجَعِي, at the time that I was sick, أني لا أعرف من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللطف الذي كنت أرى منه حين أشتكي. The kind of اللطف, the kind of gentility, the kind of care and attention that the Prophet would give me حين أشتكي. Whenever I fell ill, I never found it. I did not get it to the Prophet. Alayhi salatu wassalam. Innama yadkhulu alayya. He would only come to my room. فَيُسَلِّمُ. He will say taslim, assalamu alaykum. Thumma yaqul kayfa tikum. Then he will say, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, kayfa tikum. How are you doing? The meaning of kayfa tikum is, how is this woman doing? How is that woman doing? How is she doing? He would only come into the room, say taslim, say kayfa tikum. In other reports of this narration, radiyallahu anha, the scholars say that وَكَانَ مَعَهَا أُمُّهَا أُمُّ رُومَانٍ. At that time, our mother Āishah, she had her mother with her in her house, Ummu Ruman, tumarriduha, who was nursing her. So this means a woman may be sick in the house of her husband, and the mother of that woman will come to take care of her inside her husband's house. You will see Ruman for the 1 month that our mother Āishah was ill. When she returned to Medina, when they returned from Al-Muraysiyah, during the period of Al-Ifk, she was ill for 1 month. And Ruman, her own mother, was with her, taking care of her. And for the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he came into the house of Āishah, yusallimu alayha, he would say, Assalamu alaykum, summa yaqulu kayfa tikum. He would say, Assalamu alaykum. And then he would say, how is she doing? Summa yansarif. When he said kayfa tikum, then he would leave. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يُرِيبُنِي. That was what was giving me concern. He didn't care. He didn't take care of me. He didn't look at me and say, oh, sorry, how are you? How are you feeling? No, he wasn't saying any of that. إِنَّمَا يَدْخُلُ عَلَيَّ. The Prophet would only come into me, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَيُسَلِّمُ ثُمَّ يَقُولُ كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. He will say taslim. And then he will say, كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. This was what was giving me concern. وَلَا أَشْعُرُ بِالشَّرِّ. I did not have any notification. I did not even sense that anything was going on about me. حَتَّى خَرَجْتُ بَعْدَمَا نَقِحْتُ. I did not hear anything. حَتَّى until خَرَجْتُ بَعْدَمَا نَقِحْتُ. I went out. You can say نَقِحْتُ. You can also say نَقَحْتُ. So they are both correct. If you have a text that has نَقَحْتُ, it is correct. If it has a text that has نَقِحْتُ, it is also correct. نَقِحَ or نَقَحَ is when a person is healing from sickness. You are already feeling better from sickness. even though that betterness you feel is not strong enough, but it was better than the original condition that you were. So Arabs will say naqahta or naqihta, either with fa'ala or fa'ila. It goes with any of them. She said, radiyallahu anha, وَلَا أَشْعُرُ بِالشَّرِّ. For that 1 month, I never sensed any evil. حَتَّى خَرَجْتُ بَعْدَ مَا نَقِهْتُ. Until I went when my sickness was a bit better. فخرجت مع أم مصطح قبل قبل المناصر. خرجت مع أم مصطح قبل المناصر. So I went out مع أم مصطح. I went out with مصطح. مصطح. Her name is رائطة. What is the name of مصطح? رائطة. رضي الله عنها. So I went out with مصطح. Mistah himself is Mistah ibn Uthafa. What is his name? Mistah ibn Uthafa. We shall come back to say more about Mistah and Mistah. We shall come back to speak more about Mistah and who? Mistah. What's the name of Mistah? Ra'ita. Radiyallahu anha. She said, فَخَرَجْتُ مَعَ مِصْطَحٍ كِبَلَ الْمَنَاصِحِ. So I went out with the mother of Mistah, Mistah, in the direction of the open place where we used to ease ourselves. I'm sure we would remember that in local communities, they used to have open places where they went to ease, to defecate, to urinate, and things like that. And then they returned home. So she said, خَرَجْتُ مَعَ مِصْطَحٍ كِبَلَ الْمَنَاصِحِ. So I went out with Mistah in the direction of those open places. She said, وَهُوَ مُتَبَرِّزُنَا. Those were the places where we used to defecate. وَكُنَّا لَا نَخْرُجُ إِلَّا لَيْلًا إِلَى لَيْلٍ. And we did not used to go out to those places except from one night to the other. So if you want to ease yourself, you want to defecate today, you wait till the night. It's in the night you defecate. When you defecate, you can't defecate there again until the night again. So she said, radiyallahu anha, وَكُنَّا لَا نَخْرُجُ إِلَّا لَيْلًا إِلَى لَيْلٍ. So we would not go out to defecate in those places. إِلَّا لَيْلًا إِلَى لَيْلٍ. Except from one night to the other. She said, radiyallahu anha, وَذَلِكَ قَبْلَ أَن تُتَّخَذَ الْكُنَفَ قَرِيبًا مِنْ بُيُوتِنَا. That was when قَبْلَ أَن تُتَّخَذَ الْكُنُفَ. Before the kanif. The kanif is like a circular or angular structure, like an enclosure that were made for the use of women as toilets. I'm sure you see that in local communities. So before the kunuf used to be made in our homes, we were going out to the public place to go and ease ourselves and defecate. But later on, the kanif, that enclosure that were used as toilets, were made qariban min buyutina. They were made near to our rooms. Wa amruna, what we used to do at that time, amrul arabil uwal. That was what the early Arabs used to do. Min at-tabarruz kibal al-gha'it. What was that? They used to go out in the public place to go and ease themselves. What the Arabs used to do in early times was what we were doing, the wives of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. So women, please note this. If we have a woman who, that is the condition of her husband, I'm sure this woman might have been abusing the husband that is irresponsible. Āishah radiallahu anha, at a time in her life, and in the life of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, they used to go out to the open place in the night to defecate and return home. And then they will not defecate until the next night. They will not defecate again until, but later on the Prophet made a toilet within the household, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where the people were defecating. And that was because Arabs only would do that. I think in some Yoruba cultures too, and in some Hausa cultures too, you will find something like that. People will go out to a place. There's a place designated for that. They will ease themselves there and come back. And then in some places too, you find the kanif, that enclosure that are used as toilets or bathrooms in the local communities. So they used to do that in the night. And that was the way Arabs used to do in the earlier times. She said, radiyallahu anha, the reason why they preferred to go to public place before they got to those toilets within their household was that وَكُنَّا نَتَأَذَّى بِالْكُنُفِ, we used to be uncomfortable with the toilets and نَتَّخِذَهَا عِنْدَ بُيُوتِنَا, we used to become uncomfortable. The ulama say min ra'ihatiha, min rawaiha, because of the kubh of the ra'iha, min kubhi ra'ihati al-kanif, because the smell that will come from toilet was disgusting. So they did not used to like to have kanif near the house. Why? The smell was bad. So if you have it near the house, the smell was bad. So they preferred, instead of having it near the house, let's be going to the public so that the house will be free from negative smell. Radiallahu anhu. It was a cultural thing. That was what the community was used to. Radiallahu anhu. She said, Radiallahu anha, فانطلقت أنا وأم مصطح بنت أبي رهم ابن عبد المناف. So one day, myself and Mistah is bintu Abi Ruhmin, we proceeded. Wa ummuha, and the mother of Mistah. Wa ummuha ibnatu Sakhrin. The mother of Mistah is ibnatu Sakhrin ibn Amir, is the daughter of Sakhr ibn Amir. Khalatu Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, the mother of Mistah, her own mother, meaning the grandmother of Mistah, is the maternal aunt of who? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. That is the connection between Mistah and who? Āishah. The grandmother of Mistah is the aunt maternal of who? Abu Bakr. So they are about second or third grade cousins. Mistah and who? And Āishah. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is the nephew of Mistah's grandmother. So you can see the connection between Abu Bakr and Mistah. Radiyallahu anhu. Wa ibnuha, and the son of Mistah was Mistah himself. Ibn Uthasa ibn al-Muttalib was the son of Uthasa ibn al-Muttalib. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَأَقْبَلْتُ أَنَا وَهِيَ كِبَلَ بَيْتِ. So we went to ease ourselves. When we finished, we started returning home. Ana wa hiya, myself and who? Mistah, Kibala Baiti. We were returning, going towards the direction of my house, my room, my apartment. Qad faragna min sha'nina. We had finished what we went out to do. That is, we had finished toileting. فعثرت مستح في مرتها. عثرت مستح في مرتها. So Mistah had like a sleep. She slept. She was having mirt. She was having a piece of cloth with her. So she had a slit. She was walking. She slipped as if to fall inside that material that she was holding, a piece of cloth. فقالت, when she slipped, she then said, تعيس مستح. يعني هلك مستح. May destruction be on Mistah. May Mistah be destroyed. In some reports, Āishah radiallahu anha was telling Mistah, Atasubina waladak, are you cursing your child like this? Why should you do that? Āishah radiallahu anha was trying to stop Mistah from saying those negative comments and directing it to her son, Mistah. She said, radiallahu anha, فَقُلْتُ لَهَا بِئْسَ مَا قُلْتُ. What you are saying is bad. أَتَصُبِّينَ رَجُلًا شَهِدَ بَدْرًا. Are you تَصُبِّينَ رَجُلًا? Are you cursing, saying negatively of a man, Shahida Badra, who witnessed the battle of Badr? Because Mr. Ibn Usasa was present in the battle of Badr. And we remember in the hadith of Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ اطَّلَعَ عَلَىٰ أَهْلِ بَدْرٍ فقال لهم افعلوا ما شئتم قد غفرت لكم. Allah has looked at the people who partook in the battle of Badr, and He says, افعلوا ما شئتم. Do what you like. As for me, قد غفرت لكم. I have forgiven you. So Mistah was one of those who were at Badr. He has been forgiven by Allah. So why are you saying about your son that halaka Mistah or da'isa Mistah? Why are you saying this about your son? In some reports, she said that wallahi ma asubbuhu illa fika, illa fiki. Wallahi ma asubbuhu. I am not saying this that I'm saying about Mistah, except for your sake. I'm abusing Mistah for your sake. I'm cursing him because of you. Radiallahu anha. Because at that time, our mother Āishah, radiallahu anha, lam tash'ur bimada bishar. She had not known what the people were saying, radiallahu anha, about her. And one of those who were saying that thing about her was who? Mistah ibn Uthafa. She said, radiallahu anha, qalat anta, the mother of Mistah, Mistah. She said to Āishah again, Hamta. Is from hurufu min harf nida. Is harf nida. Yani lil-ba'id. Hanta. Yes, you, you this one. She was saying that regarding our mother Āishah, as if to say, you don't know what's going on. Radiyallahu anha. أَوَلَمْ تَسْمَعِي مَا قَالَ. Did you not hear what Mistah was saying? قُلْتْ وَمَا ذَاكَ. Our mother Āishah said, I asked Mistah, what was that? فَأَخْبَرَتْنِي الْخَبَرِ. Then she gave me the information. Mistah then narrated the story in the report by Imām Al-Bukhari. Mistah said to our mother Āishah, Innaki laghafilatun amma yaqulu nas. Innaki laghafila. As for you, you don't know anything. You don't know about what the people are saying. In another report yet in Sahih Bukhari, it says that inna mistahan wa fulanan wa fulanan. Mistah said when she was narrating the story that Mistah and Fulan يجتمعون في بيت عبد الله بن أبي. They gathered in the house of Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, رأس المنافقين. يتحدثون عنك وعن صفوان يرمونك به. They were talking about you and Safwan. يرمونك به. They were accusing you about Safwan, meaning that they are saying evil about you, O Āishah. Regarding who? Safwan ibn al-Attal, radiyallahu anhu. This was the information that she got, radiyallahu anha. She said, فَازْدَدْتُ مَرَضًا عَلَى مَرَضِي. So I began to seek more and more. My sickness that I had had for a month, ثُمَّ نَقَحْتُ. And then I became partially well. Then my illness began to increase. Radiyallahu anha. She said, فَلَمَّا رَجَعْتُ إِلَى بَيْتِي. When I returned to my room, وَدَخَلَ عَلَيَّ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to my room. فَسَلَّمَ. He did the same thing he was doing. إِنَّمَا كَانَ يَدْخُلُ عَلَيَّ فَيُسَلِّمُ. He will only come into my room, he will make taslim. ثُمَّ يَقُولُ كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. The same thing applied. So he came into my room. دَخَلَ عَلَيَّ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to my room. فَسَلَّمَ. He said taslim. Assalamu alaikum. ثُمَّ قَالَ كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. Then he said, كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. How is she doing? How is that lady doing? فَقُلْتُ. So I said to him, radiyallahu anha, don't forget, when this incident happened, our mother Āishah was just 13 years old. Radiyallahu anha. She was just 13 years old during the time of Ifk. But you can notice her brilliance and her intelligence at that time. The way she was behaving showed that this is a brilliant girl. Her intelligence was beyond saying that she was 13. Radiyallahu anha. She was 13 years old. Radiyallahu anha. She continued to repeat it. She will mention it again now. I was a little young girl. She mentioned it when she was talking about that she was carried into the Hawdaj and they did not notice that the Hawdaj was empty because I was a young girl and I did not used to eat much. So they did not know she was a little young girl. Young, age 13, brilliant, radiyallahu anha. She said, فَلَمَّا رَجَعْتُ إِلَى بَيْتِكُمْ. So when I returned to my room together with Mistah, دَخَلَ عَلَيَّ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. The Prophet came to my apartment. فَصَلَّى. He made the tasbih, alayhi salatu wassalam. ثُمَّ قَالَ. And then he said, كَيْفَ تِيكُمْ. How is that lady doing? فَقُلْتُ. Then I said, radiyallahu anha, أَتَأْذَنُ لِي أَنْ آتِيَ أَبَوَيَّ. Will you permit me an آتِيَ أَبَوَيَّ, that I should go back to my parents? Will you permit me to go to my parents? Look at how she has handled the condition. She told us, later we'll sit here. She mentioned why she wanted to go to her parents. Radiyallahu anha. Said to the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, أَتَأْذَنُ لِي أَنْ آتِيَ أَبَوَيَّ. Would you allow me, will you give me the permission that I should go to my parents? وَأَنَا حِينَئِذٍ. She said at that time, أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَسْتَيْقِنَ الْخَبَرِ. I wanted to go to my parents to go and confirm what is it. Is it really true that people are saying that about me? That was why I wanted to go home. So the solace she had was to her parents. Ummahat, note this point. This shows that one of the places a woman may run to when trouble starts in her marital home are her parents, especially if those parents will help to resolve that matter. Get your parents involved. Āishah was 13, yet she was intelligent enough that when there is trouble, then quickly I must make my parents. And who were those? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And who? Ruma. So she has people she can go back to. Radiyallahu anha. So she said, وَأَنَا حِينَئِذٍ أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَسْتَيْقِنَ الْخَبَرَ مِنْ كِبَلِهِمَا. I wanted to go and seek to confirm what they were saying, the information from the two of them. فَأَذِنَ لِي. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam allowed me to go. Yes, go. Because the Prophet knew who Abu Bakr was. Alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet knew who Ruman was. Radiyallahu anha. So, okay, yes, you are in good hands. Go back home. She said, radiyallahu anha. فَجِئْتُ أَبَوَيَّ. Then I came to my parents. فَقُلْتُ يَا أُمَّتَاهِ. So I called my mother, يَا أُمَّتَاهِ. Mom, مَا يَتَحَدَّثُ النَّاسِ. What is it that the people are saying? فَقَالَتْ. Then her mother said, Ruman, radiyallahu anha, يَا بُنَيَّ. Oh my daughter. هوني عليك يعني خففي الأمر عليك. Take it easy. Howin. Take it easy, oh my daughter. So you can see the great wisdom in how Ruman handled the matter. Instead of aggravating it, the first thing she was telling A'ishah was what? Ahawwini alayk. She didn't even go on to tell her the story. The first thing she did was to calm her down. Ahawwini alayk. Take it easy. Oh Allah. She started to sermonize A'ishah. Radiallahu anha. Ruman said, for Wallahi, I swear by Allah, لَقَلَّمَا كَانَتْ إِمْرَأَةٌ وَضِيئَةٌ عِنْدَ رَجُلٍ يُحِبُّهَا لَهَا ضَرَائِرٌ إِلَّا كَثَّرْنَ عَلَيْهَا قَلَّمَا كَانَتْ إِمْرَأَةٌ وَضِيئَةٌ. Ruman said, only few times will you find a woman وَضِيئَةٌ, يعني جَمِيلَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. It is only on few occasions you find a girl wadi'a in the rajulin yuhibbuha. She is beautiful. She is hasana. She's good looking. And she has a husband who yuhibbuha, who loves her. Walaha dhara'ir. And then she has dhara'ir. Arabs refer to co-wives as what? Dhara'ir. Because هي تتضرر منهم. لأن المرأة تتضرر منهن. A woman feels uncomfortable with her co-wives. So that's why Arabs refer to co-wives as what? Dhara'ir. So Ruman said, فوالله, I swear by Allah, لَقَلَّمَا كَانَتْ إِمْرَأَةٌ وَضِيئَةٌ. Only on few occasions would you find a woman who would be beautiful. This is another evidence that our mother A'ishah radiallahu anha was quite beautiful. In the rajulin, she was with a husband. Only on few occasions would you find a woman, a young girl, beautiful, who would have a husband, yuhibbuha, and that husband likes her. Walaha dhara'ir. And then she has co-wives, illa katharna alayha, except that they bring issues upon her. When they say, who dropped the plate here, they say she's the one. Who dropped, they say she's the one. Who did this, they say she's the one. Why? She's beautiful and her husband likes her. So women learn this lesson. Sometimes the reason why the other women in the house, they have complaints about you, it's not because you are bad. It's because they are jealous of you. This is the way women are. It's because you are a beautiful young girl and your husband likes you. If you want your husband to like you, that's also good. But don't forget, you are most likely going to suffer jealousy from the rest of the wives. So you have to take one. I think some of the women will take that they should be loved. And then the rest of the women can, women will say they can go to blazes. Radiyallahu anhunna. So Ruman was saying that, for Wallahi, I swear by Allah, قلما كانت امرأة وضيئة عند زوجها عند رجل يحبها ولها ضرائر إلا كثرنا عليها. That only on few occasions would you find a woman who is beautiful, and then she has a husband, and then she has co-wives, except that they begin to bring issues upon her. فقلت, A'ishah said, رضي الله عنها, سبحان الله وقد تحدث الناس بهذا. She said, رضي الله عنها, Subhanallah, glorious and free is Allah. Allah is above all imperfections. This is the meaning of Subhanallah. Then she asked, out of wonderment, وقد تحدث الناس بهذا. Have people truly said this? People have truly said something like this? Radiyallahu anha. In some other reports, it said that after she heard this from her mother, then she asked her mother, does my father know about it? Has my father heard about it? She said, yes, your father has heard about it. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam heard about it. She did not talk to the Prophet alayhi salam. She did not say anything to the Prophet alayhi salam. So she didn't know whether the Prophet was aware or not.
the first person. This shows the role of the mother in the daughter and the marriage of that daughter. Mothers can destroy the marriage just as mothers can help their daughters to keep their marriages. Just as mothers can help to keep marriages, they can also dangerously destroy the marriage. In all of this, Ruman did not narrate the story. She was just appeasing and calming down her daughter, radiallahu anha, Āishah bintu Siddiq. So she asked, has my father become aware? They say, yes. Has my husband, the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has he also become aware? They said, yes. Radiallahu anha. Then she said, فَبَكَيْتُ اللَّيْلَ. When I heard that, my father was already aware. I heard that. Āishah, she said, I heard my father was aware, my husband was aware. فَبَكَيْتُ اللَّيْلَ. Yani, I cried al-laylata throughout that night. She was crying. In a report by Hisham ibn Urwa from his father Urwa ibn Zubayr from Āishah radiyallahu anha, it said that فَسَمِعَ أَبُو بَكْرٍ صَوْتِي. My father heard my voice. وَهُوَ فَوْقَ الْبَيْتِ. He was at the rooftop at that time. يَقْرَأُ. He was reading the Quran. فَقَالَ لِأُمِّي. So she asked my mother, مَا شَأْنُهَا. What is wrong with Āishah? قالت. My mother, Ruman, answered my father that بَلَغَهَا الَّذِي ذُكِرَ مِنْ شَأْنِهَا. It has reached her what was said about her. فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهَا. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq also had tears in his face, and he started to shed tears. فَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهَا. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq asked my mother, what's wrong with Āishah? My mother said she has heard what the people, مَا ذُكِرَ فِي شَأْنِهَا, what was said about her. She has now heard. And then Abu Bakr as-Siddiq took that night. He was at the rooftop reading the Quran. Alayhi radiyallahu anhu. So فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهَا. Out of pity for his daughter, out of understanding that his daughter was free from indecency. But here we are. This is the accusation. And this also makes us understand how painful those kinds of accusations can be. That a woman who is decent, innocent, becomes accused of zina. It could be very, very devastating. It could be devastating on the woman. It could also be devastating on her parents. So Ruman came to confirm to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq the condition of Āishah. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَفَاضَتْ عَيْنَاهَا. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq also started crying. And then in a report, he also said to her, Uskuti ya bunayya, Uskuti ya bunayya. Oh my daughter, Uskuti, keep quiet. So you can see the role of the father too. When the girl becomes troubled in her marriage, both parents, they can aggravate that trouble. They can also lessen the trouble for the girl. If parents, if you find your daughters in trouble, they come to the house from their marriage, help them solve their problems. I know a case where a young girl had a trouble with her marriage. She went back to her uncle, and the uncle sent her back to the house, even without listening to her. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Ruman, they could have sent Āishah back. You wife of Prophet, oh yeah, go back. Rather, they kept her and they were pacifying her, trying to calm her down. These are the kinds of roles that parents must play in marriages. And that it has happened with Āishah. It can happen with anybody. It's another lesson we should learn. That a young girl had issues in her marriage, and then she went back to her parents for succor. As it has happened with Āishah, it could have happened to anybody. And it has happened to some of the best people that you know. It has happened to one of the best of the women you can ever have on earth. while she was in the house of the best man you can have. So who is left? Who is left? It can happen to anybody. A woman, young girl, can have a troubled marriage, and she would need the attention of her parents back home so that they help her listen to the case, pacify her, and reconnect her with her husband. But as they can't do this, some homes will aggravate the matter and worsen the matter, and will end up having their daughter divorced by the husband. May Allah protect the rest of us. May Allah forgive all of us and grant our daughters, grant us all and then our daughters good homes to stay and ease our affairs out of His mercy. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was weeping. Āishah said, فَبَكَيْتُ اللَّيْلَةَ. As for me, I wept throughout the night. حَتَّى لَا يَرْقَأُ لِي دَمْعٌ. حَتَّى لَا يَرْقَأُ لِي دَمْعٌ. Until no tears stopped on my face. What was happening? The tears were just rolling down. رضي الله عنها. وَلَا أَكْتَحِلُ بِنَوْمٍ. No sort of sleep. لا أكتحل. No sort of a sleep came to my face. ثم أصبحت. And then when the morning reached, أبكي. I was still crying. رضي الله عنها. So you can see the emotional distress that she came into. She was crying. The father was crying. How will that house be? The house of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Here is the most beloved girl, Āishah, beloved to her husband. But here is a trial in marriage. So marriages always have their trials. Marriages always have their trials. The husband will be saying, is this my wife? The wife too will say, is this the man that I married? It has happened before. Your own will not be the first. Marriages have trials. Young girls, sisters, know this. Marriages have trials. Marriage is not sweet. Your marriage cannot be as sweet as the marriage of Āishah, radiallahu anha. You cannot be as playful as she was with the Prophet. Your husband cannot be as nice as the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu. Yet that marriage had its own challenge. And here you are, hearing it to the extent that she had to leave her marital home for her father's house. رضي الله عنها. فدعا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم علي ابن أبي طالب وأسامة ابن زيد. Then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم invited Ali ibn Abi Talib and Usama ibn Zayd حين استلبث الوحي, when revelation has not come from heavens. Allah did not send anything to the Prophet on this matter. Nothing. So the Prophet invited Ali ibn Abi Talib and who? Usama ibn Zayd. Ulama say this is evidence. Look at the age gap between Ali ibn Abi Talib and who? The Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasallam. Yet, as big and as serious as this matter was, the Prophet was seeking advice from Ali ibn Abi Talib. Look at the age gap between the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Usama ibn Zayd. Yet the Prophet was asking advice from Usama ibn Zayd. So no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how elderly you are, sometimes some young persons will be in certain positions regarding certain matters. You will call them and ask for their views. What do you think? What do you feel? What did you hear? What do you advise we should do? So such young persons should not think big. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sought advice from who? From Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then from who? From Usama ibn Zayd. So our mother Āishah radiallahu anha said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when revelation was not coming from heaven, he sought to seeking advice. Even the Prophet was seeking advice. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Young man, seek advice. If you have an affair, seek advice. Someone better than you sought advice. Alayhi salatu wasalam. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam دعا علي ابن أبي طالب وأسامة ابن زيد حين استلبس الوحي يستأمرهما, يعني يستشيرهم. The Prophet was making istishara fi firaqi ahlihi. He was asking their opinion fi firaqi ahlihi regarding divorcing his family. Do I need to divorce Ali? Aisha did not want to say fi firaqi ana because it was regarding her. Fi firaqi ahlihi. Who is ahluhu that she's referring to here? She was referring to herself, radiallahu anha. So the Prophet asked for advice. Can I divorce Aisha? He asked Ali ibn Abi Talib. He asked Usama. This is evidence that sometimes a man, when the trouble becomes so serious in the marriage, one of the solution paths is to separate. If the matter becomes so tight, difficult, it can't be understood. No one can say anything useful. It has become so difficult. Please, honorably, don't take up arms against a woman. I'm sure some men in our own times now, they can call the woman, start asking her, what happened between you and so-so-so? When she refuses to talk, he gives her a left hand slap. He start beating her that she should confess and all these kinds of things. So it's better you leave the woman in peace than you start beginning to violently beat her, harass her, insult her, abuse her, slap her, beat her. You start asking her questions that we can consider to be foolish, asking her to confess and all of these. The Prophet did not do that. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So she said, فَأَمَّا أُسَامَةُ. As for Usama ibn Zayd, فَأَشَارَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ بِالَّذِي يَعْلَمُ مِنْ بَرَاءَةِ أَهْلِهِ. As for Usama ibn Zayd, he gave an advice to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam bima alima, regarding what he knows, what Usama knows, min bara'ati ahlihi, regarding the free from indecency of his wife. Aisha is free from indecency. Aisha, we know her, radiyallahu anha. وَبِالَّذِي يَعْلَمُ لَهُمْ فِي نَفْسِهِ مِنَ الْوُدِّ. Usama was also telling the Prophet about the love he knows that the wife's Aisha has for him. Aisha is free from indecency, and then she likes you. You who will be called to give an advice regarding a marriage, don't say something that will make the man to hate his wife or that will make a woman to hate her husband. You should say things that will connect them. Sometimes some of us listen to a husband, we listen to a wife. And then some of us go and start telling the wife, this your husband, is irresponsible, is this, is that. You are saying things that will make her become more inflamed against her husband. People do it a lot. Be careful. As for Usama ibn Zayd, he was saying, oh, Aisha she's a decent woman. We don't know her with any indecency. And we know that she loves you. We know you love them. This was what Usama ibn Zayd was saying, radiyallahu anhuma. As for فَقَالَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. So Usama ibn Zayd said, oh Rasulullah, hum ahluk, they are your household, they are your family. وَلَا نَعْلَمُ إِلَّا خَيْرًا. We don't know anything about Aisha except what? Khair. وَأَمَّا عَلِيُّ. As for Ali ibn Abi Talib, فَقَالَ, he said, Ya Rasulallah, O Messenger of Allah, Lam yudayyik Allahu alayk. Allah has not pressed on you. Allah has not restricted you. Wa nisa'u siwaha kathir. And women are many after Aisha. Why was he saying that? Radiyallahu anhu. He was saying that because he saw that the Prophet was worried over Aisha. He was worried. And what a man would be worried in this kind of a circumstance regarding the wife is, subhanallah. So why do I go from here? What do we do now? Say, no, if it is about marrying another wife, you can marry another wife. وَالنِّسَاءُ سِوَاهَا كَثِيرٌ. Women are many after Aisha. Now he said, radiyallahu anhu, Ali ibn Abi Talib, وَاسْأَلِ الْجَارِيَةِ. But you can ask her slave girl, تَصْدُقُكِ. She will say the truth to you. Aisha radiallahu anha at that time had a slave girl. What was her name? Barira. What was her name? Barira. فَدَعَى رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ بَرِيرَةً. Then the Prophet ﷺ invited Barira. This means the head of a home can also invite somebody he sees in the house. This one, you know, so person. Come, what do you know about so? If the matter calls for it, can call somebody with whom you stay in the house. Young, trustworthy person, come, what do you know about so and so? That person too should not see it as something big. The Prophet also invited Barira radiallahu anha, and she was going to ask Barira about who? Āishah. But don't forget, that statement of Ali ibn Abi Talib to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that nisa'un siwaha kathir, women apart from Āishah, there are many. Lam yudayyikillahu alayk. Allah has not restricted you. So if it is about leaving her, marry another place, all we want is we want peace for you, Messenger of Allah. This statement that Ali made, Āishah radiallahu anha was not pleased with it. She was not pleased with it at all. And I don't think there's any woman who will be pleased with it. And that was why some of the scholars say that the day Abdullah ibn Abbas came to Āishah radiallahu anha, asking her about the last moments of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the day that the Prophet died. And our mother was saying radiallahu anha that the Prophet went into the masjid while resting on two persons. The first of them was who? Abbas. The second was who? Ali ibn Abi Talib. But when Āishah radiallahu anha was telling that narration, the Prophet had died at that time. Radiallahu anha. When Āishah was narrating that incident that happened the day the Prophet died, she was narrating it to Abdullah ibn Abbas. She said the Prophet was leaning in between two men, Abbas and one man. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said, radiyallahu anhuma, I went to ask who was that man from my father Abbas. Then my father Abbas said it was who? Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiyallahu anha. So inshallah we'll stop here. So when the Prophet invited Barira, what did Barira say? And what was it that happened after that? Inshallah, we'll continue from here in our next class. If we have a few questions that we can attend to about the Rahman, we can attend to them, inshallah.
Jazakumullahu khairan ya Shaykhana.
Ameen, ameen.
The first question here is, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What if the husband who has hurt you feels you don't need succor from your parents and does not permit you to leave his house? Can a Muslimah just leave the house anyway, knowing that
she should not leave the house? If it was not permissible for the Prophet to prevent her, she will not take the permission. In the Sharia, each time the Sharia says take a permission regarding something, what it means is that your permission may be accepted and that your permission may be rejected. Go back to Surah An-Nur when Allah asked us if we want to come into a house. What did He say we should do? What did He say we should do? You make it sinners. Do you understand? You make taslim, assalamu alaikum. Then you knock the door. Don't forget, don't knock a door before you say taslim. You say taslim, then you knock the door. That verse came ala at-taqdeem wa at-ta'khir. You first of all do what? You say taslim. If you want to come into a house, you say taslim, and then you do what? You knock the house, or you say, adkhul, can I come in? So the Quran gave us two options. You are either allowed to come in. What did He say regarding the second one? وَإِذَا كِيلَ لَكُمْ رْجِعُوا فَارْجِعُوا هُوَ أَزْكَى. If they say go, then go. So anything that the Sharia allows that permission should be taken. It means there are two things. That permission can be granted as requested, and that permission may be denied away from as requested. It may be denied and it may be accepted. So when she said, I asked for his permission to go to my parents, it means the Prophet had the right. the husband would have a right to either accept that request or reject the request. So if your husband rejects the request, don't add salt to the wound by leaving the house without his permission. You'll be leaving the house without his permission. You'll be denying him his rights. You'll be disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by so doing. And those two things will make your case to become aggravated. Don't leave the home unless your husband allows you to leave. If you leave, you are sinning. It's an act of sin. Except when the case has reached, if I don't leave, my life may be lost. There are cases like this. I heard of a young girl, I knew her very well. She got married and the husband took her home. And then later she started to notice that the husband had psychiatric issues. So the first day he started beating her, running after her in the house. She called her family. She told them, you know what families will say ordinarily? Be patient. That's the first thing families will say. Be patient, be patient. The second day, he removed a dagger and pursued her in the house. When she struggled to get out of the house, she never returned to the house. She went away. So in this kind of a case now, can somebody come and start saying, you, by obligation, require the permission of that man to go out of the house? No. This is a case of darura now. وَالضَّرُورَةُ تُبِيحُ الْمَحْظُورَةِ. Things that are prohibited become allowed in the circumstances of darura. How do we know that there is darura? Her life is truly, truly in danger if she stayed at home. Now, some women will say, oh, there are some mental, they have mental health. Their mental health has been tampered with. In most cases, these things women call mental health, they exaggerate the matter. It comes with exaggerations. My mental health cannot take it again. My longitude and latitude of my mental health is now going. So these things sometimes are exaggerated. If they are exaggerated, don't go. You know better and Allah knows. But if it is a real case that the matter was really, really getting bad, then you can go home. If it is going to affect her life or her property or the like of these matters that become invoked in the cases of darura, then she can go. Otherwise, you have an issue with your husband. The house is hot. You want to go. If he says don't go, then don't go. Then don't go. This is the basic rule. I hope that is clear about the Rahman.
Naam ya Shaykh, ana salawatullah alaykum.
Ameen.
Another question says, regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam seeking advice from Ali and Usama, radiyallahu anhuma, is there a connection with both of them on the issue before now, or is there a specific reason for the choice of the two? Jazakumullahu khairan.
They were not connected to the issue at all. There are three things we can note about Ali and Usama that made him to talk to them. The first thing about the two of them was that he has trust for them that they will tell him the truth that they know about the matter. The Prophet trusts Ali ibn Abi Talib so much. He also trusts who? Usama ibn Zayd. Trust is the first one. You don't seek advice from a person you don't trust. People are like that. They want you to seek advice from them, but you don't trust them. Trust regarding what? You know that they will not tell you the truth. This should be the meaning of trust. Some people think that trust in these kind of circumstances, someone who will tell you what you like to hear, rather than someone who will tell me the truth. Hear what Ali told the Prophet about Barira, that Salil Jariyah, ask her slave, Tasdukuk, she will tell you the truth. So the Prophet trusted the honesty of who? Ali ibn Abi Talib, and who? Usama ibn Zayd. The second thing is love. The genuinity of the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib for the Prophet and the love of Usama ibn Zayd for the Prophet was not in question at all. So when cases go like this, you should only seek advice from somebody who truly, you know that he loves you. The first one, trust. What does the trust mean? He will tell me the truth. Then, true love. What does the love mean? He will protect my honor. Because in cases like this, the wife would have said some things to the man. The man too would have said some things to that young man. There are some young men today, their mouth is open too much. Once you talk to them, they go and broadcast you on Facebook or they write it on WhatsApp status. The new things that they have heard from their sheikh. That is what they will use as a WhatsApp status. But as for Ali and Usama, they love the Prophet so much that alayhi salatu salam wa radiyallahu anhuma, they want to protect his honor. So the Prophet was comfortable. I will hear the truth from them and I will be sure that my honor is what? Preserved. These two things are important when you want to seek advice from people. The third thing we can mention that made the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to talk to Ali ibn Abi Talib and Usama is that the two of them grew up inside his house. They are close to him. Closeness. The first one is what? Trust. The second one is what? Love. The third one is what? Closeness. In these matters, the closer a person is to you, the better for you to open up to him. So be sure you have three things when you want to discuss your marriage with people. That person, you trust him. You will tell me the truth. You will never lie to me. Even if I'm at a fault, he will tell me. 2, he loves me. Do you know that he loves you doesn't mean that you don't quarrel sometimes? Someone may love you and he quarrels you, but you know this person likes me. The third one is that, what is that? He's close to me. We are close. So because of these three things, you find these three things inside Ali ibn Abi Talib and who? Usama ibn Zayd. So when you want to seek advice about marital troubles, look for these three things inside that person that you want to open up to. The first one is what? Trust. The second one is what? Love. The third thing is what? Closeness and nearness to you. We have explained the three of them. I think that suffices on that about the Rahman. Ameen. Can we stop here? Because this class can go on and on. Aisha's lessons never stop. Bismillah, we continue from there. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam invited Barira, so what happened? We'll continue from there, inshallah, in the next class.
Salawatullah alaykum, Shaykh.
Ameen wa iyyakum. We'll meet tomorrow morning in Al-Adab class.
Naam, ya Shaykh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, inshallah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.